Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Family Law Talk.
Family Law Talk.
Presented by Kirk Stange of Stange Law Firm, PC. Stange Law Firm is a family law firm with offices in Missouri and Illinois. Now, here's your host, Kirk Stange.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. We have an interesting topic today. The topic is, do character witnesses help? This is a question that clients going through divorce or family law matters often wonder about. It's something that often gets brought up with the attorney, which is if I call, a friend or a relative or somebody who knows me fairly well, and I call them as a character witness, will this help? So it's a common question. It's one that attorneys get all the time. It's definitely one that lots of individuals going through either a divorce or custody case or family law case of various kinds wonder about and think about. And so it's definitely a topic that is worth going into. And coincidentally as well, we've got a blog article on familylawheadquarters.com, and we have an article on our blog, familylawheadquarters.com, dated November 13th, 2014. And the title of the article is, Are Character Witnesses Important in Family Law Cases? And sort of the interesting thing is, this particular article has been on our blog now, since 2014. Almost 11 months. And as we look at this article, just sort of week in and week out, it seems to be an article that gets a lot of views, a lot of reads. It seems to kind of rank up toward the top of the articles that folks are apparently looking at. So we thought, just based on that, this ought to be a good episode for our podcast, because obviously it's something that folks are interested in and want to know about. So again, here's a deal in a nutshell to sort of break the issue down, which is when folks are going through a divorce or custody or family law matter, folks are thinking about what types of witnesses do they call. Now, in lots of cases, expert witnesses get called. So it might be like a real estate appraiser, could be a forensic accountant. Maybe it's a therapist, or maybe it's a psychologist, something of that tune. Somebody who's able to give an expert opinion. But folks are often thinking about character witnesses. And when people are thinking about character witnesses, what they're generally talking about is their friends. That could be family members, other people that they have a close relationship with in some form or capacity. What they're oftentimes interested in doing is having these people come into court to testify, that in essence, their friend or family member or whatnot is a great person, that they have great character, that they have great, moral character, maybe great ethical character. They're just a good person. They're a great person. Maybe in a general sense, they'll, testify that their friend or family member is a good parent, that they were a good spouse to the person to whom they were married to, or whom they were in a relationship with. And so they want to bring these character witnesses in and attempt to sort of bolster, their impression with the court. They're hoping that the judge in a family law case will be swayed by this, that they'll be interested in this, and they'll think by bringing their friends or family members in, it'll really, do wonders for their case, maybe tilt the case, in their direction, because they've got all these people, in essence, vouching for them. Sort of a good, analogy that a lot of people come up with is, when they apply for a job, they put references down on a job application, and, lots of individuals will put down friends or family members on a, reference list of people whom an employer could contact to see if somebody, would be a good employee. And in the same vein, I think people look at character witnesses as sort of that same thing, sort of references to the court, sort of references to the judge, that they're a good person and that the court ought to look fondly upon them. And so you kind of have that similarity there in terms of the line of thinking. And so let me just state this. Obviously, different cases are different. Certainly past results don't guarantee future results. And different judges can look at these cases differently. Maybe some judges are swayed by character witnesses. Maybe in a particular case, maybe character witnesses might be of some use. But as a general rule, the problems with character witnesses is that they can oftentimes just be attacked on cross-examination by some sort of personal motive, a bias. And so, they just get open to these lines of attack. So one family member testifying that there are other family members, I think that's fairly predictable. Lots of courts would predict that would be the case. And I think, a lot of courts, a lot of judges would assume that there would be reluctance on the part of a family member to throw their other family member under the bus in an open courtroom, and likewise that a good friend, somebody who's known somebody for a long period of time, is going to be reluctant to throw their friend or family member under the bus. And so, these individuals, if they have too close of a relationship, too close of a bond with a particular party, they can be easily attacked. In some cases, they might even have a motive. So, take a child custody case, where one parent, wants custody of the kids. The aunts, the uncles on the same side of the family, the grandparents on the same side of the family, they all might have a personal motive in terms of saying the relative is a great parent, because that means they'll get to see these kids more. They'll have a greater opportunity to develop a relationship or develop a bond, with the kids, or maintain a bond. And so there can also be this motive, component involved, where the friends or family members can be attacked because they've got a personal motive involved in terms of being able to see the kids more. And so, versus character witnesses, people, who are friends or relatives, it's oftentimes wise to think about other witnesses out there that might not have that close personal bond, that might not have a relationship with the parties, and certainly probably don't have a personal motivation to come into the courtroom and say great things about their friend or relative. And so oftentimes look to other people. And there can be lots of folks out there in cases, if folks think about it, if they sit down with their attorney and they game plan this with their attorney and sort of list the names of potential witnesses. And again, different cases are different, so there could be different folks in different cases that an individual might want to look at. But let me just give you some examples of some potential witnesses that might be more persuasive in a family law case, such as school teachers. Oftentimes school teachers will see the parents, through time. They'll meet the mom, they'll meet the dad. They'll meet them at teacher conferences or communicate with them about the kids. Most of the time teachers don't have a personal motivation. They don't have an axe to grind, between the mom and the dad. And certainly, what parent gets custody isn't going to have a direct impact on them. So there's not that motivation component that could be there. And so school teachers in some cases could be good witnesses, not to say that school teachers are normally excited to come into court or dying to come into court. I assume a lot of school teachers would rather not be put in the middle and not be a part of it. But I mean, just objectively speaking, if you're looking at a witness that might have some sway, if they're willing to testify, in some cases, the attorney might think they're important enough to subpoena them. But school teachers, doctors of the kids can be important witnesses potentially, because again, the doctors don't have a personal motive to really take sides with the mom versus the dad. They're not a friend or a relative, so there's not blood relationship or this deep personal relationship from the past where they have any particular allegiance. And so doctors could be potential good witnesses. Coaches of sporting teams, for example, could be potentially good witnesses. I mean, a sports coach could testify that, the mom's really involved in the kids' sports and based on what they've observed and seen with their own eyes, the mom's a really good parent or the dad's a really good parent. They're real involved in the activities and the sporting events or whatnot. And so sporting coach teams, the coaches of those sporting coach teams can oftentimes be potentially good witnesses, sometimes members of the same club, maybe members of the same church or synagogue or mosque or whatnot. They could be potentially good witnesses in some cases because, they might not have a personal motive, or they might not have, a blood relationship or this deep personal relationship from the past where they have a motive or an allegiance to say kind things about one parent versus the other or whatnot. And so, again, we could go through lots of different examples and talk about lots of different potential witnesses, but these are all some possibilities for folks who are going to be going through a divorce or family law case, and it's going to be a case that doesn't settle and ends up in a trial or hearing, and they're looking at witnesses that might be persuasive. These types of witnesses oftentimes can be much more persuasive than a friend or a family member simply coming in as a character witness. So let me just state this as well. When witnesses come into court, again, different cases are different. Different judges might prefer different things. And again, past results never afford any guarantee of future results, but stories oftentimes are much more compelling than an individual coming in to court testifying about opinions, right? So a coach of a sports team could theoretically testify about a time, when X, Y, or Z happened at a practice and they saw the one parent exhibit parenting skills that they thought were excellent, theoretically, right? So they can tell a story. They could paint a picture of good parenting. Theoretically, kids, teachers in school could do this. They could, testify that, the one parent is always there to pick up the kids. The one parent is always at the conferences. The one parent has great insight about the kids. The one parent is always very responsive or very respectful or whatnot. In other words, they could tell a story. Same thing with the kids' doctors. They might be able to tell a story of a time of a medical condition or health condition, and they thought the one parent did X, Y, or Z, and that exhibited good parenting or whatnot. And same with members of a club or a church, synagogue, or mosque or whatnot. They might be able to tell these stories as well in terms of good parenting and things they've seen. So versus the ultimate question that lots of folks are tempted to have their attorney ask, which is, do you think the mom is of good moral character, or do you think the dad is of good moral character, versus asking the conclusion type question that lots of individuals want an attorney to ask, which can create problems in terms of, one, not being very persuasive, even if it's allowed, and then two, it's an opinion question, which really should only be asked of an expert witness in most cases versus a lay witness. The better questions are the questions that revolve around, tell me about X, Y, or Z that happened at the sports practice, or tell me about what happened at the doctor's appointment, or tell me what happened during the parent-teachers conference that you thought was important. And then having these witnesses tell a story, having them paint a picture, oftentimes that can be very persuasive in court. Judges can then, in essence, sort of see or hear a situation with their own eyes from a witness who's not biased, doesn't have their own personal motivation, they're not related to either of the parties, and they certainly don't stand to benefit one way or the other from the results of the case. They're just credibly telling the court what they've seen with their own eyes or heard with their own ears, and then versus that conclusory question, it doesn't have to be asked. The judge can surmise from the story that was told, from the picture that was painted, that particular parent seemed to be somebody of good character without that question even being asked in any kind of conclusory way. So that's the topic, a really interesting one. Again, familylawheadquarters.com. Go there, November 13th, 2014. We've got the article titled, Are Character Witnesses Important in Family Law Cases? You can definitely read it as a follow-up to the episode. Definitely an interesting topic, and again, one that gets tons of hits compared to a lot of our other blog entries on that webpage. So folks seem to be interested in that topic. So definitely one that'd be worth a read as a follow-up. So thanks to everybody for tuning in to Family Law Talk. Stay tuned to our next episode coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Family Law Talk. Family Law Talk with Kirk Stange. Visit StangeLawFirm.com for more about today's topic, or to put Stange Law Firm to work for your family today. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertisements. Neither the Supreme Court of Missouri or Illinois reviews or approves certifying organizations or specialist designations. The information you obtain on this podcast is not, nor is it intended to be legal advice. You should contact an attorney for advice regarding your individual situation. We invite you to contact us and welcome your calls, letters, and electronic mail. Contacting us does not create an attorney-client relationship. Please do not send any confidential information to us until such time as an attorney-client relationship has been established. And finally, past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Kirk Stange is responsible for the content. Principal place of business, 1750 South Brentwood Boulevard, Suite 401, St. Louis, Missouri, 63144.
Lean on us.
We are here for you.
You matter.
You are not alone.
Are you feeling overwhelmed? Not sure where to turn? The National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there for you 24/7. Call or text 988 or chat at 988sc.org. Whether you're having an emergency or you know someone who needs support now, they can help you take the next step towards finding hope and healing.
There is hope. 988sc.org.
Why don't more infant formula companies use organic, grass-fed whole milk instead of skim? Why don't more infant formula companies use the latest breast milk science? Why don't more infant formula companies run their own clinical trials? Why don't more infant formula companies use more of the proteins found in breast milk? Why don't more infant formula companies have their own factories instead of outsourcing their manufacturing? We wondered the same thing. So we made ByHeart, a better formula for formula. Learn more at byheart.com.